Ready?
Ready.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Amy Shaganaw. We conducted a replication study exploring the effects of self-monitoring, goal setting, and feedback on step-taking amounts. I will be discussing the purpose and literature review.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jamie Shapee. I'll be discussing the following components of the methods section: participants and setting, materials, behavioral definition, and data collection, as well as the results and conclusion.
Hello, everyone. My name is Erin McDonald. I will be discussing the baseline phase within our methods section and our limitations.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mallory Cheever, and I will be discussing the research design and the intervention used.
Hi, I'm Heather Coder. I'll be discussing the inner observer agreement, and I will also be discussing treatment integrity.
The purpose of the study is to explore whether the package intervention of self-monitoring, goal setting, and feedback was an effective intervention in increasing physical activity. We are all involved in an online graduate degree program, which I believe is a big culprit of my personal inactivity. However, we do not have time in our current schedules to be involved in an exercise class or other involved commitment that would take up too much time. Avoiding inactivity is important in order to avoid obesity and other diseases. Increasing our steps is an attainable goal, as walking requires little equipment and is not too strenuous, and it does not take up much time. Conducting the literature review has led me to discover this package intervention, and others and similar to it have been utilized across an extensive range of demographics and mostly with positive outcomes. The positive effects of physical activity have also been extensively researched. Erickson and Carlson in 2001 published a 9-year-long longitudinal study showing that increased physical activity led to increased motor skills as well as self-esteem among grade school children. And then the next study is Morisawa explained the relations between increased physical activity and change in body composition, physical functions, vascular functions, and self-efficacy, as well as health-related quality of life among 47 elderly adults. So they were looking at a lot of different measurements there, different things. They ended up finding a functional relation just between increased physical activity and increased health-related quality of life. However, the change was very significant. According to the Foundation of Health Measures, health-related quality of life is a multi-dimensional concept that includes domains related to physical, mental, emotional, and social functioning, which, in my opinion, is pretty important for elderly folk. In 2006, Nora et al. Showed that self-management had positive effects on exercise and relaxation routines among 113 adults who were diagnosed with arthritis. So there's self-management working positively for increased physical activity. The next study is one of my favorite research articles I came across when involving several hundred adolescent girls. In 2005, Dishman et al. Reported strong correlations between self-monitoring physical activity and increased self-efficacy among, like I said, adolescent girls. Increased self-efficacy is an invaluable benefit, especially among adolescent girls. Self-efficacy lends itself to countless additional opportunities beyond just physical health. Strong efficacy among adolescent females could support positive mental and social health. Moving on to Donacci et al. In 2017 observed the effects of self-monitoring on 28 obese men during a 12-week group training program. The experimenters in this study were also interested in further understanding of the ways in which pedometers operate as motivational tools. This article discussed further insight into why self-monitoring works, as well as providing quotes from the participants about the positive and negative experiences involved with self-management. Data and conclusions showed self-management and goal setting have positive effects on the men's weight loss, as well as self-esteem. Finally, a study conducted in 2008 by Normand involving 4 adults ranging in age from 39 to 59 years old also showed promising results. He analyzed the effects of self-monitoring, goal setting, and feedback on physical activity. Normand utilized a multiple baseline reversal design. Pedometers were used to measure daily steps. Normand's study resulted in increased physical activity for all participants. This is the study we replicated. I'm going to now pass it on to Jamie.
The participants involved in the study replication included 5 females: Mallory, age 29, Heather, 28, Erin, 27, Jamie, 31, and Amy, 33. All participants involved were full-time master level students at Ball State University taking online courses. None of the participants knew each other prior to the study. All participants lived in various locations around the United States within the Eastern Time Zone. The participants collected data via a pedometer of their choice. All participants were interested in increasing the number of steps taken on a daily basis. In order to replicate this study, the materials needed included a pedometer of the participants' choice, data sheets, and reliability observers. A permanent product recording system was used to record the number of steps taken each day, as well as a reliability observer. The number of steps taken each day was displayed on their personal pedometers. Data was recorded from the time the participant woke up until they went to bed. During baseline, the reliability observer recorded the steps at the end of each day into the data sheet. The reliability observer also noted in the data whether or not each participant's personal goal was met. During intervention, the step totals were recorded by the participant and shared with the group through a Google Doc data sheet. Our group operationally defined the step and the goal separately. A step was defined as any activity resulting in a count being recorded on our personal pedometers. A goal was defined by deciding on a predetermined amount of steps for each day of the intervention. I will now pass it on to Mallory to discuss the research design.
For our design, we used a multiple baseline across participants. This type of design is an intervention that is applied to the same behavior for 2 or more participants. We also use an AB-AB reversal design. With this design, the baseline data is collected until stable, and then the intervention is applied. Once the responding is stable, the intervention is removed, and there is a return to baseline. When responding has reached a stable state, the intervention is reintroduced. I will now turn it over to Erin, who will discuss baseline data.
Baseline data was collected for roughly 7 days. Once data was stable, the participant moved into the intervention phase. Daily steps were counted from the time a participant woke up in the morning and until they went to bed that night. Baseline data was collected in different ways across the participants, specific to their pedometers. The participants of the study employed different methods to ensure that data was hidden and that they were not gaining formal feedback from their devices. Each participant utilized a different device that discreetly recorded their daily steps accumulated, which you can see at the bottom of the slide. Amy used a Hubela Callen simple walking pedometer covered with tape. At the end of each night, Amy's husband recorded the total number of steps reflected on the pedometer and cleared the results. Heather used a Samsung Health application on her phone. Heather kept her phone with her at all times, and the application automatically recorded her number of steps taken each day. I wore an LC Stream fitness tracker on my wrist for the duration of the study. The fitness tracker recorded all steps that were taken and was synced daily to an application, the VeryFit app 2.0, on my phone, and it did not open or view the VeryFit application until the end of baseline. Mallory used a Fitbit Alta tracker placed in her pocket during baseline. On a daily basis, the tracker recorded steps and synced to the Fitbit application on her phone, which was not open during the baseline phase. Additionally, Mallory kept her phone in her pocket to hide the number of steps taken per day. Jamie used a Charge 2 Fitbit placed in her pocket to avoid viewing the screen. Jamie did not log into the corresponding phone application until the end of the baseline session. Each member of the study shared their daily step counts with their fellow participants once their reliability observer confirmed that their data was stable. Once stable, the participant moved into the intervention phase, which Mallory will discuss next.
During the intervention phase, initial step goals were established by calculating the average number of steps during baseline. Each participant had a different length of base time. So for my personal initial step goal, my baseline was 4 days long. So I used the step goals, the step totals for those 4 days divided by 4 and got the average for my initial step goal. For all of the other daily step goals after the initial step goal, they were established by calculating the average number of steps taken during the previous week and set at that number. Participants had to meet that goal 4 out of the 7 days of the week to proceed on to their next goal. If they did not meet this goal 4 out of the 7 days, their goal was not increased, and the goal was kept the same until they reached 4 out of the 7 days. Heather, will you click to the next slide, please? Participants were allowed to check their pedometers during their intervention. They did not have to have them masked or kept in their pockets. Participants reported their daily step totals once per day using the data collection chart on Google Docs. Participants gave each other praise, such as good job and keep it up, if their goal was met. They were also given encouragement, like keep it going, you're headed in the right direction, if they did not meet their daily step goal. Participants created and updated their own graphs with their daily step totals once per day. I will now turn it back to Heather, who will discuss the inter-observer agreement.
All right, for the inter-observer data, it was calculated at the end of each day that steps were measured. Once the daily step intake was complete, the participants would send a photo or a screenshot of the total steps for that day to the participant calculating the IOA. That participant would then compare the photo to the updated graphs to ensure that the agreement between the steps and the graph, Scores were calculated by dividing the number of agreements by the sum of the disagreements and agreements, then multiplying that number by 100 to result in a percentage. At the end of the experiment, the IOA was at 100% across all phases. Reliability observers also played a role in ensuring honest data collection throughout baseline and the intervention. Treatment integrity was also ensured by a daily check-in from participants on a shared document, like has been stated previously. At the end of each day, participants would write the number of steps they took on the document. Because this happened after every step count totals were in, after daily step count totals were in, it ensured that participants were following the intervention. At the end of each week, participants would share weekly totals and help each other come up with new goals if applicable, and they would help each other keep their goals accountable. I'm going to give it to Jamie to talk about the results and the conclusions.
The results of our replication study are shown in the figures presented. All 5 participants showed an increase in step average between baseline 1 and intervention 2. Both Heather and Jamie showed a slight increase in steps throughout all levels of intervention. Amy's highest steps were recorded during intervention phase. Amy also showed a significant decrease in steps during baseline 2. Aaron showed a significant increase in steps between baseline 1 and intervention 1. The results obtained in this replication study were not similar to those of the original study. The daily step totals for each participant were variable and did not closely correspond to their weekly daily goals. It should be noted that there are several reasons that this study did not show positive replication to the original study. The original study was conducted over 11.5 weeks. This study had to be completed within 4 weeks. The results may have shown differently across a longer period of time. Our participants also did not utilize the same devices. Another reason, data may have not been accurate. Several of our participants have chosen to continue counting their steps and achieve a higher goal. From the data obtained, our group has concluded that this intervention replication was not effective and there was no functional relation between the behavior and the intervention. It is possible that if the study was conducted with less limitations and closer similarities to the original study, participants may have seen a functional relation throughout this study. I will now pass it on to Erin to discuss the limitations we found within our study.
While the outcome of the replication study indicated that self-monitoring may have been an effective intervention for increasing daily steps for some of the participants involved, there were some limitations to the replication process that may have had a direct impact on our results. First, unlike the original study, all of the participants utilized different pedometers. A lack of a uniform recording device could have had an impact on accuracy of recording as well as consistency across the participants. Additionally, the original study gauged social validity via a social validity survey, which was not used by the participants in the replication. The original survey listed statements regarding the procedure, the intervention, and overall satisfaction, and asked the participants to respond using a 5-point Likert type scale. The participants involved in the replication used an informal method to discuss their thoughts and opinions on the aforementioned subject areas. Finally, there was a limitation within the participants and their environment and/or daily schedule. Results were impacted by this factor, which may be considered a limitation. For example, 2 participants were on vacation during a portion of the study. When recording daily steps, this circumstance had a direct impact on the results, either rendering them substantially higher or lower than a typical day. This, in turn, directly affected the goal-setting process. When setting goals using weekly averages, the days involving outlying step amounts greatly affected that week's step goal. In an ideal clinical setting, these environmental factors would be pre-identified and/or planned around the experiment as to not impact or alter the results. This concludes our presentation on increasing physical activity through self-monitoring. Thank you for watching.